Welcome back to Surviving Art. Here we explore the world of art from economics and simple tips on equipment to surviving the existential dread that is the art world. My name's Matej Tomazin, and today we're going to talk about pricing. You'll hear people tell you about different techniques, but usually these are artists who mostly do one thing, and what works for a classical portrait painter doesn't necessarily fit someone working with photo or video works. You can't really charge by the square centimeter or inch for video, and charging by the minute quite frankly just questions the whole concept of what it means to make art opposed to craft. So, in the hopes of giving you advice that could help as many of you as possible, let's talk pricing. Pricing by the hour. A popular practice is setting an expected hourly wage and calculating how much time you spend on making the work. Classic but archaic. This option may be good for the classical portraitist or any realistic style painting, or sculpting or similar practices. It reflects the labor-intensive work of creating realistic depictions and communicates the sheer number of work hours that one puts into making a portrait like this. But for someone who makes abstract paintings that take a day or sometimes a few hours to complete, this isn't really a realistic approach. Though you could brag that your hourly wage is €400, just don't tell anyone how many hours there are in a workday, or year for that matter. You just don't base the price of a Rothko on the number of man-hours he and his assistant put into one of his works, and you don't compare him to Raphael or Titian either. This option is also interesting for anyone making complex works of art, like installations, video work, and similar. If it's labor-intensive, you could set an expected hourly price, but keep in mind that you will have to give a quote when doing commissions. So don't expect people will just let you work for 100 hours on a project that could have taken half a day to complete, because you spent half of that time thinking outside of the box. Pricing by square centimeter or inch. Similar than by the hour, pricing by size of the art is an option. In both cases, I would recommend taking a day or two and going to some private galleries and checking the prices and backgrounds of other artists placed similar to your current position. Or just go online. But going into a gallery and being the customer for once and really trying out what it looks like to be sold an artwork is a really valuable experience. Also, don't aim too high or too low. You wouldn't buy the newest iPhone for €50 and not be questioning what's wrong with it, but you wouldn't give €2,000 for one either. Again, try to find a base point from which to make your calculations, or just reverse engineer other similar artists' prices by any of the methods to get your standing price. And don't sell yourself short. You're not IKEA, so please don't make a business plan based on quantity with minimal earnings. The problem with pricing by size is the large inequality with earnings when comparing smaller pieces to big ones. I recommend with both pricing by the hour or by size, keeping in mind a nominal fee like a studio fee or some base number to which you then add the calculated value of that particular work. This is especially good for smaller works where if you would use, let's say, a price of 10 cents per square centimeter of your work, a 100 x 70 centimeter size painting would cost €700. If you deduct expenses for materials like colors and canvases, you're left with at least €600, if not more, depending on what the prices are for materials in your country and how much you loathe no-brand acrylics and cotton canvases. But a 20 x 20 centimeter painting would cost €40, and if you deduct expenses, you're probably left with a small existential crisis. But if you add a nominal fee to every work, let's say €50 or €100 studio fee, the price for the larger work won't change drastically, but smaller works won't be worth less than a soy vanilla latte at Costa. Pricing by project. You can just estimate the price for any project as a whole, but good luck with consistency. Also, you will have trouble making changes to the price when commission expectations change. For example, the initial canvas size of 100 x 70 centimeters is changed to 50 x 70 in the last meeting, and I want a new price quote on the spot. You'll probably go too low, as it's hard making changes that still keep in mind every expense while letting you earn enough to make it worth your time and effort. So I highly recommend to have an internal pricing schema that you don't reveal to your customers based on method 1 or 2. And not because you're a horrible person ripping them off, but because, let's face it, nobody buys art made by their favorite artist, yes you, and wants to hear him or her explain the same pricing scheme as the plumber that came to fix the toilet last week. And nothing against the respectable and important profession of plumbers, just making a point of distinction. Having an internal schema that you can take a look at anytime you need to quote a price lets you stay consistent. But I recommend using full amounts when quoting the base price rather than estimates. And don't forget the expenses. Really, don't. Don't forget to calculate every single expense you have with your work. You're not a charity, so don't act like Liquotech's heavy bodies grow on trees. But don't expect to get a full reimbursement for a 200 milliliter paint tube just because you made a 2x2 large dot on your painting with that particular color. Be fair to yourself and to whoever is your customer. Otherwise, you'll just end up disappointed with how they're not paying nearly enough for your work, and they'll think you're ripping them off. Unless using the best linen canvas and highest quality pigments, a €150 quote on material costs for a 40 x 40 cm acrylic painted canvas is about in the rip-off ballpark, in my honest opinion. And a tip, try not to incorporate expenses into the total amount. Rather, give them the quote for your work plus expenses. This will be a lifesaver and will eliminate any complications due to materials used or actual changes in materials used. People are more comfortable with a higher price due to extra material costs when the base price for the work stays the same, than with one large amount that just got bigger because now they want gold leaf on the portrait of their auntie. Consistency of pricing. I also recommend you make a list on your phone, or if you're into such kinky things, analog with your pen and paper, and put down how much different materials you use actually cost, like the price of different canvas sizes, or a kilogram of clay or plaster, a block of marble, etc. So when confronted with the question of how much on a meeting with a potential client, you can just take out your phone and get the price estimate by a few steps of multiplication, thus making your communication more professional and less, I don't know, like maybe €200 or thereabout. Is that okay with you? Have fixed prices and don't do discounts. You don't go to Apple and ask for 20 off because you're a patron of iPhones. It's also better to haggle over full price than being immediately confronted with a 30 off discount. You just wouldn't trust 50 off seafood, and what makes you think they would a €500 sculpture with the same discount? Giving a receipt and paying taxes. I am more than aware of how hard it is to sell anything at all, so why on earth would anyone bother with taxation, right? Wrong. I will tell you, I do not trust my weather app, nor do I trust my watch. The self-winding mechanism needs an overhaul, but I know for a fact that the tax man or lady will come for you if you keep making stupid decisions like tax evasion. Maybe not for a tenner, but when you start to see sales rise, believe me, some automated bank bot will too. Be fair, I live in a country with far from optimal tax laws, but the peace of mind from knowing my accounting is in order is worth a lot. My 15-year-old punk me is probably questioning his life choices, but it's alright. Do a bit of research, ask people who maybe pick or sell mushrooms, the legal ones, or berries, or someone who does babysitting. Usually there are always good options, or even untaxed small amounts that one can earn every month. For example, Austria has the Honorarnote, €480 per month, that any citizen can earn without having to be taxed a cent, or even declare that they've earned anything. You do have to make a receipt and follow some guidelines on what you can do though. And I'm sure you could find some formal way to legally earn your commissions when they are not yet steady income. Because let's face it, if you're getting more than 1K per month, you will need to create some form of legal business entity anyway. Having warranty or some promise concerning long-term quality. This will probably surprise no one, but warranty is important, like really important. You don't pay the extra €70 for extended warranty for nothing, and when you buy, for example, a camera for €500, if it turns out the shutter isn't working properly, you don't just accept the course of bad luck, but instead take it to the store and demand a replacement or for them to fix the problem. Do the same with your art. Watercolors can fade. Charcoal can get smudged if you don't use a good fixative or miss a spot, and sculptures could crack either by the fault of the owner or your own. These are things to consider before closing the deal. Make a certificate of authenticity, some document stating that this is an original piece you made, and then add to that document a line or two concerned with some form of warranty. One of mine I use for my collages made with sublimated prints reads, "The highest standard of quality is my guarantee. If anything may happen to the work due to improper production or damage from mistreatment, accidental damage or natural causes, like wind damage, sunlight damage, similar, please contact me to arrange restoration of the work." If it is the owner who poured a gallon of coffee on the photos, I would give him or her a fair price covering all my expenses and my time to fix the work for them. But if any of the photos started to peel off, I would repair the work for free, as the fault is on my end. So, to recap, pricing is a tricky topic in art. You can't just decide on a whim how much you'd like to get for your work, as the people selling coffee can just make up prices. Though it's much looser in our business and thus easier to misprice your work. You can't objectively put a price on creativity, but you can definitely find the exact cost of materials and estimate of how much time you spent on your work. Maybe you already spent tens of thousands on college tuition, and a good option is to make a plan on how you will be getting back that investment. You can add all the money spent and parcel it out over a span of 2 or 5 years, add to that living expenses and whatever hobbies you dream of having while working 25 hours a day as an artist, and see how much you need to earn, based on an estimate of how many works you plan on making and effectively selling, and see how that matches other similar artists to you. Here it's quite good to remember that probably not many others do price their work according to such a schema, so if you're off quite a bit when comparing, keep in mind that it's quite possible you're on the right track and they're just shooting in the dark. So thanks for watching and keep on fighting that existential dread, and I'll see you next week on Surviving Art.